I'd rather create something that others criticize than create nothing and criticize others.
If you have high quality product behind the bar, it's like weapon.
It's not about the figures. It's about who those figures are.
The Hospopreneurs Podcast.
I'm going to drink this beer.
Yeah, let's crack them.
With James Henderson.
Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Hospopreneurs Podcast. My guest today, Isaac Ryan, is an amazing individual. He's thirsty for knowledge and incredibly ambitious and passionate about coffee. Right now, he's building his business, Archer, a specialty coffee shop in Westfield Chermside's recently renovated section. We have an incredible discussion over the next hour on everything from feedback and the hiring process to technological advancements and innovations that Isaac has seen and taken advantage of. Whether you're in coffee or not, this episode is straight up value and worth taking notes on. Enjoy and cheers. Hello and welcome to the show, Isaac.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, man.
Thanks
Very
for
well.
having me on.
No worries at all, mate. No worries at all. Mate, I like to start the show by asking if you have a crazy hospitality story.
Ooh, a crazy hospitality story. Yeah, yes, definitely. Well, man, I actually started in bartending when I was 18. And after it was a New Year's Eve where one of the other bartenders decided to spike the rest of the bartenders' drinks.
No.
With some party drugs.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty intense night. I tell you, didn't tell anyone until after the fact. And that could have gone horrendously badly. I'm not going to name the bar. I'm not going to name the person.
No.
But yeah, that was probably my toughest shift I've ever done.
Yes.
Because that was unexpected.
Dude.
Yeah. Lots of dropped drinks.
No.
Lots of people just really, really messy. So
no.
that's my craziest hospitality story.
And what about something weird or wonderful you've seen a patron do?
Weird or wonderful? Man, I was working at a coffee shop, managing a coffee shop in Indooroopilly, and I had become really good friends with these customers. And they knew that I was going through a tough time, and they literally gave me like $1,000 in an envelope.
Really?
And said, "This is just, man, we know shit's going on. This is for you."
Whoa,
and
that's so nice.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I still make them coffee to this day, and I was able to pay them back.
Wow.
But they just give like crazy acts of kindness happening in cafes a lot, and that's why I love them. You know, so that's probably a crazy and wonderful thing.
Yeah,
Or
I like that.
Craziest, most wonderful thing
that
has happened to me.
Thanks for sharing those stories, man. I like those.
Yeah.
The next question I want to ask you, and I like to really start the episode with this one, other than the crazy story. I'd like to know why you do what you do.
That's a good question. Very specifically, when I see other people happy, it makes me happy. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. It's just the way I was designed. And so I have opened a business. I've worked in all these coffee shops to make myself happy, and that has a really good effect on the people around me. So I get to make customers happy every day. 300 to 500 people every day I get to make smile. My staff now, I get to make them smile. I get to teach them. I get to teach them how to run a business, and all of that gives me freedom. I can do whatever I want, and security. And so like the core of it comes down to security and freedom.
Yeah.
And the things I like doing with my freedom is making people happy.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's it.
I really like that. It's very similar to myself. It's ultimately about providing people with an experience and making them happy, making a lot of people happy. I think I mentioned previously on the show, there's a fella named Jags who I met. He's a cafe owner in Melbourne.
Oh, awesome.
And he said to me that the thing that he likes most about hospitality is it's the industry with the most happy people.
Yeah, man.
And I totally think that that's true. And that kind of comes through with what you're saying there is it's just all about this positivity, particularly cafes. Bars too. I mean, people drink and have a good time.
Yeah.
But I find that there's something about coffee and the coffee culture that really just brings that positivity and that even ambition and being productivity. It's
agreed.
I love that. So
yeah, cafes.
That's really cool.
I think cafes and hospitality businesses, the good ones, the really good ones, they're a meeting place.
Yes.
And that just, what comes with that is all of those things you just mentioned.
Yes.
Which is, the part of the community you create around a venue. Like everyone becomes a sort of like semi-family almost, and that's really awesome.
It's that coffee house culture.
Yeah.
With the Newtons of the world, they would come together and they'd solve these massive problems
Around coffee. 100%.
That hang out and drink coffee. So that's a really interesting thing that we maybe will open up a little bit more over the episode, particularly the culture that you're building. And I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that. First, I want to ask you what led you into hospitality.
What led me into hospo would have been, I started working a part-time job when I was 12, like scrubbing floors. And from there, I just slowly made my way from out of the kitchen into the front of house. I became addicted to it. I was like, man, I love this. I get to talk shit and run around and get paid for it.
Yes.
And so that for me really, really drove me, just because I had fun doing it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And once I found what I was really good at in hospitality, which was the communication with customers, I was like, oh man, I want my own thing doing this, so I can have it the way I want it.
I kind of see it as in hospo, you're a professional friend maker.
That's it.
That's what I think it is. It's just, you just make a bunch of friends and have a good time. That's your job. I mean, you have to facilitate the product going from whatever it is that you have access to the customer, but that's it. You just have a good time.
It is. It's really easy. And the way I think about it is like, how can, no matter who walks in that door, like, I want them to feel welcome.
Yes.
Whoever that is. Even if they're having a shit day, we'll still, you can sense that in people. And so I think a lot of it's reading people and giving them what they need emotionally, and the food and coffee just kind of comes with it. And that really, I guess that's why I got into it.
More specifically with coffee, what is it about that you love?
The coffee, I guess I get to represent like hundreds of people who touch the coffee before I've got it. So like, you've got the people who work on the farm, the people who actually do the labor on the farm, the farmers themselves, their whole family. That's just it. In one farm, all of those people rely on this, I guess, fruit. And then you've got all the people at the processing station. You've got all the people involved in shipping the coffee and getting it to where it needs to be so it can be roasted. You've got all the people at the roasteries, all of their customers. So many people are affected by this massive chain of people. And I think that's what attracted me to it. And the fact that I get to master a skill and continually, the learning never ends. So I try to get better every single day doing what I'm doing, which is why I think I went into coffee.
I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that you just touched on later on in the episode. What I'd like to ask you first, though, is what you're doing now. Can you tell us a bit about Archer?
Yeah, so basically we opened a specialty coffee shop in a shopping centre, which doesn't really happen that often. So specialty coffee is just a certain grade of coffee. It means it's going to taste more delicious than less delicious if you're comparing it to other people's coffees. And then we threw in the best equipment in the world to help us make some of the best coffee in the world. So our focus at the moment, I guess, is just creating an absolutely amazing specialty coffee experience in a shopping centre. And that allows us to connect a lot more with the staff of the shopping centre, which would be our main focus, definitely.
So you mentioned there that it's about you're making the best coffee in the world. Is that purely because of the machinery that you're using? Or what is it that actually makes it the experience that you're wanting to provide?
Like I said, specialty coffee is a certain grade of coffee. So imagine that as you can only have 10 defects per 100 beans. These are made up numbers, but whereas normal coffee might have 60 defects per 100 beans. So you're getting incomplete beans that have been what you're tasting when you have like, you know, more a chain style of coffee, you're tasting the way it was cooked. And they roast it really dark, and all you get from it is dark chocolate, smokiness, sometimes what people call roastiness, which is bitterness. Whereas with our coffee, you have to try very, very hard to be able to achieve those really not so fantastic flavors.
Okay. So what sort of flavors do you get out instead?
So with our house blend, really smooth chocolate and caramel. Like it's sweet. You take a sip and it's sweet. Whereas some coffees you take a sip and you go, oh, it's like acidic, or it's acrid, or it's burnt, or it's bitter. All these words used by people. Whereas our coffee, it will never taste like that. Maybe one in a couple of hundred coffees will. And there's nothing, to be honest, there's nothing we can do about that at all.
You only opened relatively recently, didn't you?
Yeah, so 4 months ago.
And you're looking at another venue?
Yeah, basically we're negotiating at the moment to move forward into as many venues as we can over the next 3 to 4 years. And at the moment, we wouldn't open anything before July next year, which is 2018, just because we want to focus on perfecting all of our systems and making sure that the team we leave there is entirely ready to keep that standard. And yeah, it's a challenge. It's really challenging.
How are you going about doing that?
Enforcing non-negotiable checklists. So if you have a checklist, you're never going to forget anything. And I guess that's the difference we realized recently is an instruction list compared to a checklist. You don't have to explain to someone how to wipe a bench unless maybe they've never worked in a service industry. And that's okay. Don't make them feel like shit for it. Just teach them how to wipe the bench. But, you know, to the people who can already clean properly and who can already restock, they will forget something every other day. They're human. It's just what they do. But if every afternoon they have to go through, okay, have I done this, 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 and this? Just tick it off, sign your name, date it, put it in the drawer. That way, if there's any discrepancies, we know who did it and we know what day. And that goes across the whole venue, from how to open the shop, how to count money, how to order properly. It basically, the process of the whole day is laid out in checklists. And we've been implementing them with success, which was the missing piece of our puzzle.
Right. Is that something that you took from somewhere else you'd seen, or was that something that you thought, shit, that's what we need? That's
like, I guess, the culmination of my experience and what previous mentors have told me. And yeah, that's essentially it. Like, you know, your good artists copy and great artists steal. You gotta steal little bits from everyone and put it together in your own way. No one will ever just hand you the system unless you're paying them a lot of money. So, and it's the same with us when we you know, we might just keep a few stores or franchise, whatever we decide to do. Like, that system will be worth a lot more money because it's how I run a coffee shop. And I run one of the best coffee shops in the world in terms of volume, profitability, staff enjoyment, and coffee flavor and customer experience. And if you don't have all of those lining up, you won't have a cafe or a coffee shop or whatever it is.
Well, obviously we won't ask you about exactly what's on that list. I do want to ask you a little bit more about what you do differently. You talked about specialty coffee, but what is it that Archer does differently?
Well, it just comes down to realizing that coffee doesn't sell coffee. Toasties don't sell toasties. It's about people, and you really need to focus and genuinely give a shit. Genuinely care about the people you're serving, and the rest follows. So at Archer, like, bad coffee is non-negotiable. We are never making bad coffee, and if we do, we throw it out and we start again. Everyone knows how to recognize bad coffee. With our toasties, we use really good ingredients. It's not about the toasty, you know. It's about the service that we give. It's about every person that comes in. We actually want them to have their coffee the way they like to drink it. So some baristas, some people won't make your coffee extra hot when you're out for coffee with like your nana or something. They won't make her coffee extra hot. It's a bit of like a fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that sucks. We want to bring, I get in a sentence, this question of what do we do differently is we're just doing what the people ask for, essentially, which is, we're serving them. We're happy to serve them. We care about what they want and we give it to them. And that's all. That's all we do.
And obviously that stands out a lot more in the market that you're in, particularly within shopping centres and specialty coffee in shopping centres.
Yeah.
Is that also different to the general market?
I'd say if we were to go to the city, there's a lot more competition, just sheer numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 20 cafes on every block, or 20 cafes within a block radius, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at Chermside, we've got a lot of competitors. Everyone sells coffee, but no one's focused on coffee.
Mm.
In the city, 7 of the top 10 coffee shops in Queensland are in Brisbane City.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I compete against them?
Mm.
There's we would eventually get a market share because we're great at what we do, but people in the city want something different as well. They want convenience,
Mm-hmm.
both time-wise and cost-wise. So they'll take a cheaper, more convenient coffee over an amazing coffee that's just a little bit more expensive, but it's a block away, not half a block away.
That is a shame.
Yeah,
that is a shame, but I suppose it's the nature of humans.
That's it.
And in the time that we live in, people are becoming even more time-pressed.
They
want something now and, willing to trade off quality for just a shot.
And that at most of the specialty coffee shops, you won't get the, super particular service that we have. And I don't think you'll get that at almost any coffee shops. And lots of shops take, 10 minutes to make a coffee.
Yeah.
That's way too long.
Yeah.
If you're in our lot, you can be in and out of our shop in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And not many places can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that the time and the convenience factor is a big thing for us as well.
I've been watching what you guys have been doing for a little while now, and we've been in contact for a little while. And something that I noticed was, from the outside anyway, you guys seem to be incredibly successful straight out of the gate.
Yeah.
How did you create that? I don't know if it's true, but it certainly felt true. How did you guys create that culture straight away and be such a success straight away?
Yeah. Well, specifically, we've been building an Instagram and a coffee training business for the last 2.5 years before we opened the shop.
Mm.
So right off the bat, we had 10,000 organic Instagram followers who were all centered in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
We also the major. The major things do people want your product? Is the timing right? And are you in a position to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we could not have asked for a better open because a massive new branch of Chermside opened up.
Yep.
So we also decided to give away free coffee because we think we don't have enough money to run huge marketing campaigns. We thought it's better if we can get as many people as possible to try our product.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent all of our money on that launch date and the advertising for the launch date. That was pretty much it. As well as having, in the coffee industry, I've been around for 6 years. I've gone to almost every coffee event I possibly can. I care about the people in the industry, and I guess that got my name out there a lot as well. Mm-hmm. So lots of people who know me know I'm immediately synonymous with good coffee. Mm-hmm. So they will come to me as soon. Isaac's moved coffee shops. Yeah. Sweet, we're going to that one now. And so it's this perfect storm of we had the right timing. We were in a position to take the opportunity. I knew the culture a coffee shop needed. Mm-hmm. I knew the staff a coffee shop needed. We'd hired our first staff member 4 years before we opened because I knew him and I knew what he was like. And I was like, we need you in this business. whenever you're ready, I'll hire you. Just let me know. So we were super specific on the product and the team. We had great timing, and we already had a massive following. And so those three things together just made it go gangbusters from the start. You know, we were tripling our targets from day one. For me, I always knew we could get to that stage, but I thought it was going to take 6 months. So we were prepared to lose money for 6 months as well. Yeah. So
well, that's awesome. Certainly a net gain out of that, man.
Yeah.
The next question I'd like to ask you is, you brought up there about staff. That's something that I've noticed that you're very good at, is picking staff. All your staff are awesome. How do you select the staff that work for you?
Basically, it's a process system. Everything has a system. So we do a phone interview. We meet them in person, get them to make us some coffee. We also ask them we get their resume, but a resume can be pretty boring. So we also get them to write 5 things about themselves. We don't want normal people at our coffee shop. We don't want to know that you work hard. We don't want to, because if you can't hustle, like, you're just never even competing. That's kind of a non-negotiable thing. But if you tell me, hey, one time you went traveling, you got lost in fucking Canada, and you had to do all this crazy shit to get yourself back out of that, that's cool. Like, I want to know that when things get tough or when something crazy happens in your life, that you don't just crumble. Because if that's the case, you won't fit in, because we are giving constant feedback and always trying to get better. The way we look at our hiring process is like, it's our business's immune system. If we don't hire motivated people, they'll never be motivated. So they don't even get through the first layer of defense, if that makes sense. So
I like that, the business's immune system. I'll be writing that one down.
Good, man. Like, bad staff can poison your whole business. It's like a virus, gets inside and fucks everything up. So you need to be super clear on what makes successful employees in your business. Like, for us, they have to be motivated. We know we need a balance of worker bees and shit talkers. Because if we have too many of either, it won't work. I'm kind of like, I flip between shit talker and worker bee.
And what's a shit talker?
A shit talker keeps everyone entertained.
Yeah.
That's the people bit. The people sell coffee. You know, if you're walking down Chermside and some crazy dude in a backwards cap just hands you a free coffee and says, we made a mistake, but this one is yours. Yeah. This is what it is. And you've never even heard of us. Have an amazing day. It's like, people are shocked by that. Like, what the fuck just happened? Take a sip of the coffee and it's amazing. Like, oh, I know we're going there. Yeah. So every time they're at Chermside, they come back to us.
Yes.
But then you put the people who smash out your work in the production line. They're the people that need to be literally doing the work.
Yes.
Because shit talkers, while really good at entertaining people, don't always hustle the most.
Yes.
So that's the balance we talk about. Is like, you need to recognize when it's time to work and when it's time to shit talk. You have a shit talk on the till serving people, makes everyone feel a bit more comfortable. The wait time seems less. Then you get all your drones smashing it out. And then you put a shit talker on the end, handing it out. So that all the points of contact that they've had with our staff, they've had a chat to some crazy guy or girl.
Yep.
And they go, wow, it was so different. And then their coffee tastes the way they want it. And it's like, oh my God. And then they come back a second and third time and it stays the same. And they go, fuck, I'm coming here forever now. Yes. You know, so yeah, that's it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Thanks, man.
So we mentioned staff there. I'd like to, there's so many things that you mentioned, even in what you just said there, even about constant feedback. So constant feedback, how do you go about even providing that feedback?
Yeah. So there's a book called 1 Minute Manager. Fucking good book. I kind of have tweaked that a little, but part of it comes back to the hiring policy. Like, you need to let people know what they're in for. That's on my shoulders to set standards in every single aspect of the business. So they already are primed for being given feedback. Every day, we also have, if there's anything major, that's your goal for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have training nights as well, where we'll work on skills overall as a team. And yeah, we try to look at all feedback as positive feedback. So if you fuck up and make a mistake, that's fine. That's totally okay. It's all good. I'm glad you made a mistake. But it's what you do with it. So if you learn from it or you get pissed off, learn from it, awesome. If you get pissed off and you can't, I guess I call it a pattern interrupt. Can't interrupt that pattern of getting triggered by shit. That's a problem. And you probably won't change that. So then we can't have you in the business. You know?
I like that. The pattern interrupt. Some of the terminology you've come out with today is really good. I really like a lot of the words you've used.
Cheers.
So it's about, I suppose, intercepting. I think about it as intercepting a sort of a loop.
That's it.
And that's their pattern interrupt. It's that same thing, just different words for the same thing.
Exactly. And people don't know when they're fucking up. This is the thing. Like if from the out, you don't have an outside perspective of yourself. So if you go to a staff member, hey, did you know that before you do anything, you pause for like 5 to 10 seconds? Shit, really? Yeah. Then all of a sudden they're aware of it. And then they go to pause and they go, fuck, no, can't pause. And they, you know, so you can't, like, be kind to people when you do this and frame them up. Hey, James, I'm just going to give you some feedback about this specific scenario. This is what happens. This is why that won't work. And then this is what we need to do. And this is why it will work. And here's the results of both of them. Can you see why this is important?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I can. So if you can do that to them and treat them like a human, 90, like, you know, because of the type of people we hire, they'll always just get it and fly with it. Some people we've had to get rid of them quite quickly, is because they can't take that feedback. Whatever it is, it's like something in people's nature. They just don't accept feedback. Well, they accept it, but they don't respond. They just go back to reacting, which is just trigger reactions, you know? It's like, this happens, I immediately feel this emotion.
Being able to identify, obviously it's easy to identify when people don't follow your feedback.
Yeah.
But is there a way to know how people are going to deal with feedback before they have to deal with feedback?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the hiring process. You need to frame them up for what they're in for. And if after 2 days and you've given them a couple of different points of feedback and they haven't responded, you sit them down straight away and say, hey, it's been 2 days. These are my expectations and this is where you're at. We've got a week to get them to where we want to be. And so if that doesn't wake them up, they'll never get waken up. You know, you need to be super specific in everything you say to people when giving feedback, I guess.
I'd like to know, sort of change direction a little bit. I'd like to know what's happening in coffee. Can you tell us a little bit more about innovations that are taking place in the industry and what it is that you want to do in the new store? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
In the new store, we definitely would like more bench space so we can have, you know, a bigger fridge, easier workflow. At the moment, we've got an amazing space at Chermside, but there's a few things that we could do at the next one that would make us even faster at making coffee. You know, that includes just having the grinders all in a line, essentially, having space for an extra steam wand, so an independent steam wand, having custom built benches so everything sits where it's meant to sit. Just little tweaks that we would like to, I guess, you know, it'll only improve things by like 5 or 10% in terms of speed. But if we look at every single little area and improve everything by 5 to 10%, the overall experience will jump massively. Yeah.
What about the sort of the industry innovations that are taking place that you want to, first of all, what are they that you identify and how would you like to take advantage of them with what you're doing next?
Cool. So the way I see the industry at the moment is a massive influx of technology in water filtration, coffee machine building, and grinder building. I think the really important thing to do in times of innovation like that is to qualify the equipment just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true. So you need to, with coffee machines, for example, the coffee machine that we use is called the Remo Opera. I would not use any other coffee machine at all. I'm not saying you can't make really good coffee on other coffee machines, but with an Opera, the physics and the chemistry is on my side to be able to make it more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So traditionally, espresso is extracted at 9 bars of pressure. At our shop, we use 3 bars of pressure. So it's 1/3 the normal. And that gives our coffee it gives the water a better chance of moving through our coffee puck.
Mm-hmm.
And the coffee puck is, you clip the group handle into the coffee machine, press the button, the water goes through the coffee puck. So that's a pretty big innovation. Like basically what they've done is they've put gear pumps in each group head. Okay, so a gear pump is just a pump that uses its revolutions to create pressure, essentially. Most coffee machines, bar 2 other ones, use one pump that's located at the back of the coffee machine, like not even in the coffee machine. It's usually on the floor somewhere, pretty dusty.
Mm-hmm.
That pumps from one side to all 3 group heads. So if you turn on each of your group heads, you can notice a drop in pressure. That affects the flow rate of the coffee. And so with our machine, there's no drop in pressure, which means we get a consistent flow rate. And that's purely because of the gear pumps. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess like the innovations at the moment really come down to super specific tech shit.
Yeah.
So like,
But that's the stuff we've talked about. Like that excites you.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me, because I know what's going on in my machine.
Yes.
I know the mineral makeup of my water.
Mm-hmm.
I know the grind temperature of my coffee, which I think like 5 other people in the world would probably do. Like a really small percentage of people do this.
Yeah.
But because of that, I have less wastage, which means, more money to spend on cool barista shit, which is fucking amazing. And a more consistent product, which does justice to everyone in the line.
Yes.
People in the customer line, people in the coffee production line, everything. And I think I compare it to in 2012, weighing coffee was too far-fetched in a busy espresso bar.
Yeah.
Now everyone weighs everything all the time. And people are now saying, that machine's, that's bullshit, or this is bullshit, or that's bullshit. And we're about to have what I call a quantum leap in the industry where a bunch it's like pressure is applied and all of a sudden the bubble pops. But we're at that point where the bubble's growing and growing and growing. And there's a bunch of people with their heads in the sand. And it's going to be really fun to watch when everything fucking pops. And it's like, there's going to be a big change, I think, in the way we view how coffee is made. Mm-hmm. And I think that includes things like automation, because there are machines now that can make coffee better than baristas. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I'd rather get the machine just so I can pay people to perform and give people a great service.
Yes.
But I guess everyone has a different cutoff point. Like for me, coffee isn't art. It's science, just straight up. That's it. You can create these beautiful beverages, and I love that. But at the moment, we've got such little control over what's actually going on that, I can never say with 100% certainty, this is how this coffee will taste. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. You can do that with wine. Mm-hmm. You can do that with spirits because I've got super controlled environments. They control everything. Coffee isn't there yet, but it will be. So,
So that's coming soon.
5 years. In the next 5 years, I reckon.
That's really exciting to watch then.
Yeah, man. It's crazy.
I'd like to ask you, Isaac, what is it that you're learning about right now, personally?
That health is the most important thing. Really, really, really massively health. Mm-hmm. I've worked so hard for so long to get where I am. And I'm realizing that if I continue to work at that pace, I won't be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Mm.
So my biggest thing at the moment is health. Eat well, exercise, sleep well.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get those 3 things happening all the time, every day, no matter what, everything else will be sweet. Yeah.
And what about in the industry? What is it that, are you reading any books or absorbing, what are you absorbing now?
At the moment, my focus is really getting our business and our culture and everything systemized and put out on paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fucking task in itself. So
Mm.
for me, like, I've just bought a small coffee roaster for home. And over the next month or 2, one of my roaster friends is coming over. He's going to teach me how to roast, because I understand the process, but I'm not a roaster. I'm a barista.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really big difference. So for me, I'm learning more about roasting as we come up.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just refocusing on all of the things that I currently know.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people in this industry who I've learned from, all this crazy shit that I talk about, they're world leaders in the industry, So they've got money, time, and resources to do whatever the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, I guess, lucky enough and grateful enough to be connected in with a couple of those guys. And, there's some really exciting products coming out that I can't say anything about because it's not my product. And they've said, hey, man, don't share this, but it's going to be fucking crazy. Chemistry as well, learning a bit more chemistry about water.
Yes.
So I guess it never ends, but like my focus at the moment is to get the business side of the business humming, because that'll allow us to make more coffee shops and serve more awesome coffee to more awesome people.
And how are you going about learning these sorts of things?
So like I had a phone call with Janine Ellis. She founded Boost Juice. Chatted to her last week, really quick, 10, 15 minutes. And it was like, what did I ask her? One question was like, how do you keep culture so consistent across such a large number of shops? And it comes down to the people you hire, So for me, like every, I guess in my head, I've got a picture of levels of business, and each new level, it means I can talk to even better, more successful mentors. Yeah, I guess looking for people on that level that she's at and saying, hey, how did you get there? But also, here's my super specific question about my own agenda, And the thing I'm realizing is they all say very similar stuff, very similar. And all of the things that we mentioned in that phone call, me and my business partner have actually talked about already and got written down in, hey, this is what we need to do. But, a phone call like that makes you realize what level you actually need to get to. So for us, it was also a wake-up call. It's like, fuck, all right, we need to turn the systems up to fucking 11, So for me, I like to learn from people and books. So I'm always reading as well.
What are you reading at the moment?
The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good book about how to control nations.
Yeah.
Which is, not something I'm interested in, but you can definitely learn a lot from it.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of scary seeing the parallels of what he talks about and what actually happens in world politics. I'm no expert by any means at politics, but I just go, holy shit, these people they're just pulling a bunch of strings and they're doing a great job at it, which is pretty cool.
Well, we'll stay away a little bit from politics. But I do have some more questions. The next question I do have for you is about plans that you have for the industry and how you want to contribute.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. I really like that one. Basically, one of our goals as a business, and one that's really important to me, is to create a career for baristas. So I'd love for a barista to be able to earn 80K a year and live a good life and, be able to afford having a family and not have to worry as much. So I guess raising the barista standard of living and giving people more opportunities. The more shops we open, basically the more jobs we have for people who deserve a really good home in the coffee world. And that's really close to my heart because I couldn't find anywhere I wanted to go to work. I've worked for some of the best coffee shops, but for me, like, it was never home. It was turn up, do an amazing job, treat people really well, just because I guess that's in my nature. But there's nowhere where I could have gone, yeah, I'm happy, I'm earning enough money and I'm fulfilled enough in this job to stay here for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that exists in coffee so much. But
It's hard to find in hospitality.
yeah, it is. Like, a restaurant manager who's treated well, like, fuck, yeah, I think you'd struggle to find them. Same with bar managers, all those types of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe in coffee we can create that. So that's yeah, I guess that's one of my, I call them selfish plans. Like, one of my things that I want to do for me is create careers in coffee.
So if that's your selfish pursuit, what's the legacy that you want to leave on hospitality?
Man, I'm like, honestly, I just want to make people smile. So, like, if someone works for me, I want them to be able to work anywhere. Fuck, they're Archer. They worked at Archer. They know their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, leaving, I guess, a trusted and respected name in the coffee world. That's that'll be awesome.
We are approaching the end of the episode. I've got a few questions that I usually run through to wrap up the episode.
Awesome,
so my first one is, what is your number one industry resource? It can be a book, a person, a website, magazine, anything.
Yeah. Networking. And like Brisbane, yeah.
So people?
Yeah,
It's like, what?
Yeah, people essentially. Like, and it kind of crosses over to Facebook coffee communities. Brisbane Baristas. If you want to be in coffee, got to get on there.
Mm-hmm.
The Queensland Baristas Guild, got to get on there too.
Mm-hmm.
All of the events to do with coffee are posted on there. That's how you'll meet everyone in the industry. So for me, that was super valuable. I literally would just go to every single event and say, hey, I'm Isaac. This is what I'm doing. And this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'd rub some people the wrong way, but most people are like, fuck yeah, man, you're awesome. That's really cool. And like, from that, like, I can post a problem on Brisbane Baristas that I'm having. Hey, I need someone with a solution to this. And I'll have like, 3 or 4 phone calls and 15 emails specifically about that problem. So yeah, I'd say that's probably my biggest resource.
Awesome that technology has been able to facilitate that a lot.
Definitely.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Obviously, it wasn't available,
Not
a long time ago. Even not long ago.
Yeah, even 6 years ago,
Yeah.
7 years ago, that was not kicking off as hard as it is now.
Well, I don't think Facebook groups existed 6 years ago.
Well, there you go,
yeah.
man. So not at all.
Maybe they did. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Who knows?
But the next question I have for you, Isaac, is what advice do you have for, say, a cafe manager who wants to get into business for themselves?
Prepare yourself, I guess, in every aspect. Figure out how to run a business. There's a great book called The E-Myth. Read that. That's probably the best business book I've found.
The E-Myth?
The E-Myth by John Gerber. Another one is Purple Cow by Seth Godin.
Good one, yeah.
Man, he's great guy. Another one I mentioned before, 1 Minute Manager. Don't even know who the author is, and it doesn't matter.
I'll find that one. I'll link it up.
Awesome, man. So yeah, know what you're getting in for. Get your ego removed. Have a willingness to learn, and ask yourself, like, are you committed to it, or are you just interested? If you're interested, you will never fucking get there. Not in a million years. But if you're committed, you're willing to forego holidays. You're willing to forego everything. All the small rewards you can have now, you've got to be willing to put them on the back burner for the next 6 to 10 years. Like, it's going to take you years. So if you're not prepared for that, that's fine. There's no right or wrong, but just know what you're in for, which is years and years and years and years of hard work and smart work too. You can't just work hard blindly. You need to have the direction, get real specific with what you want. Yeah, I'd say that's it.
I like that. It's a really good perspective on the reality of it. It is a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
But it is awesome, and you're really enjoying it.
Fuck yeah.
So
Get to work for yourself.
A lot of people are, absolutely, yeah. I'm totally behind that. Isaac, you sort of touched on mentors earlier. Did you have a mentor or someone to help you through the tough decisions that, in walking your own path?
I guess I've found if I see someone with a really nice car, I'll go and say hello. Not so much anymore, because now I'll be more directly targeting certain people who I know have info that I want. But you need to talk to as many people who have done what you want to do as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I started when I was 18. I did a little bit of personal growth work. I met a couple of people who, clearly had more money than everyone else there. And I said, hey, why do you have more money? What's your secret? How did you get there?
Mm-hmm.
And two of them told me to fuck off. And one of them said, dude, let's go grab a coffee. Went and had a coffee. And he said to me, this is 18, this guy's worth $150 million. And he says, I don't see how you can make money in a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I was like, okay, I got to find someone who knows how to make money in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because I know it's possible. This industry wouldn't exist if it wasn't possible.
Totally.
So it's possible.
Totally.
And that's when I found, probably my main mentor who taught me just so much. And he just taught me how to run a business.
Yeah.
He taught me how to put really good coffee in a shopping center. It's fucking simple, right?
Yes.
And
it sounds simple when you talk about it.
Yeah, but you've got to be realistic, and that's what all of those business books, they all came from. They're what he told me to read.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Man, you got to read these if you really want it. Read these."
And was he from hospitality?
No, not at all. But he ran the best hospitality business I've ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
So, the business formula is really simple, but it's not easy, and it's applicable to any industry. So
Totally.
yeah,
Because it's systems and processes.
that's what it is. And just be realistic. Be fucking realistic. No, you're not working 90 hours a week for the first year. That's not going to happen. You're going to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 in 10,000 person that can do that, that's not worth the gamble. That's a shit gamble to make. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if your business isn't feasible monetarily, don't fucking do it. It's that simple. We turned down 9 sites before we got the Chermside one. 9 could have signed on the dotted line and said, yes, good idea, let's do it. Could have had a crack at it. But fuck that. We're not going into it to be broke. We're going into it to create a livelihood for ourselves. So you got to be realistic. If you're selling, tea cozies, it's probably not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
How many people buy tea cozies in the world on a daily basis? It'd probably be 100 people. It'd be such a negative. And of those 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is, there's already a main tea cozy supplier that have that market. So, choose a market people want. That's why I like coffee, alcohol, food. People always eat and drink coffee.
Mm-hmm.
They're never going to stop doing that.
I'm
Not
totally
anytime
with
soon,
you.
right?
And it's another reason why I love the industry as well. I think it's incredibly robust. It's just an industry that is just going to exist.
Yeah.
So I love it as well.
Awesome.
My next question for you is, you sort of touched on a little bit about this before. What's your biggest challenge right now?
Yeah, definitely systemizing culture. Systemizing what's in my brain into an actual tangible thing. That's fucking difficult. Really difficult. You can make posters and motivational shit all you want, but will it get the result? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess just trialing different things at the moment, seeing if it works. Okay, it doesn't work. Let's try it a different way. Getting everybody onto the same page in the business is the hardest thing. Whether it's, at McDonald's, everyone goes, would you like fries with that? Or would you like to upgrade your meal for $1? That is so difficult to teach people. It's insane. Just to ask 3 questions every single time, without fail. So and that's why those businesses like McDonald's and Boost are super successful, because they've got a system of how to do that. It's the culture of, Janine and Jeff, the people who started it. That's where their I guarantee when she was working in the shops, that's what it would have been like. With it, it would have been so close to that. So being able to do that is fucking crazy, and that's what we're working on at the moment.
How are you doing that?
Yeah, basically making tangible measures of what our culture is and what do I do that's different on every position, writing that down, and then introducing it to the staff in a way they can, I guess, digest and respond to. So it's just fucking difficult, and we still haven't done it. Like, we've done it in certain areas, but it's slowly but surely trying to get that whole piece of all the pieces of the puzzle together, and then all of a sudden we'll go, sweet, we no longer need to be in the store. We can walk away and come back and it'll still be the same. Perfect. And that's never going to be perfect, because you always have to. That's why McDonald's and places like that have a rep for South Brisbane and a rep for this and a rep for that. They're checking on the managers. That's their job. All it is to check on the managers. And then there's someone's job on top of them whose job it is to check on the national managers, and so on and so forth, until you get to the CEO. And, you've got a national manager, state managers, then it's all carved up. And it's called over-the-shoulder management. You're doing nothing. Your job is just to make sure that they're on track. That's it. And if they're not, you have a conversation with them.
If a company like McDonald's, that's so big, does it like that, does that mean it's a good process, or do you believe that it should be done differently?
I think it's a good process. Like, I don't need to recreate the wheel. I just need to give my business wheels, if that makes sense. Even if we only open 3 shops, or even if we don't open any more shops, we just keep one, means I can walk away from that shop and it'll keep running. So, and this is one of the principles of the E-Myth book I talked about. It's build your business so that if you needed to, you could create 5,000 of them and it would all run the same. Even if you don't want that, even if you just want one, it'll take out so much stress in your life, having everything systemized in that way. So that's, for me, like we would, even in the workplaces I've worked to, I've always been systematically driven. So I always try to systemize everything, but everyone else wants to do it their way. It's like, that's a waste of time. Why would I do that? And if you question people on why do you do that, they often don't have an answer.
People don't know why. Why is a very important question.
Yeah.
But my last question for you today, Isaac, is what's next for Isaac Ryan?
Hopefully, we're going to open a second shop next year. That's the big thing for me. That's what my focus is. Open a second shop. That's it. There's no other focuses. Get this one perfect, then open the second one. Copy and paste.
Yes.
See if it works. If it doesn't work, tweak it again.
Love it.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's make it happen.
Fuck yeah, man.
Awesome. Thanks
Thanks,
very much for being on the show today, Isaac. It was awesome having you on.
Thanks for having me, James. Legend.
For a coffee and toasty, visit Isaac Ryan's Archer Specialty Coffee at Westfield Chermside. Stay in touch with the show after hours at Hospopreneurs on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Do you know a hospopreneur? Shoot us an email, hospopreneurs@gmail.com. Creativity and innovation in hospitality. The Hospopreneurs Podcast with James Henderson.